name is Svila Beck and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. As you can see, I'm in festive fare. I got my my Christmassy Hanukkah hat up, Christmas decorations up, and I think somewhere down there is my Hanukkah candles are burning. So it is Hanukkah, the first day of Hanukkah. They'll have my candles they'll get an extra candle for each day of Hanukkah. Today's the first day. The bigger candle is called the Shamash. You know what the point of this video is? This is a idiot's guide or a geek's guide or a newbie's guide to Hanukkah. What is this weird holiday and what's it all about? It's actually kind of the only reason the reason I'm making this video is because I think it's kind of interesting. I think you guys might be interested. It actually makes a good story. And now I thought, you know what? This would actually be a basis for a really good alternative version or an alternative sequel trilogy. I might get into that towards the end. Okay, who knows? So, Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the Jewish festival of lights. It lasts for 8 nights, and it fills the template of just about every Jewish holiday. Most Jewish holidays are like this. They tried to kill us. We lived. Let's eat. So the let's eat in this situation is if you're Ashkenazi, you're from America, from France, from England, you're going to have something called latkes. In Israel, they're not so big. This is where I live. They call them levivot, which means hearts. Latkes are essentially shredded potato mixed with egg and other stuff, and then deep fried. I don't know. My wife makes them, and the weird thing is there's a real qualitative difference between American latkes and British latkes. British latkes are much more shredded and more. Although you know what, I'm just thinking of the latkes that I got from like the salt beef bars, yeah, the kosher salt beef. Although I wasn't religious when I was a kid, but the kosher style ones. The American latkes, they're normally flatter. Like potato pancakes, essentially what they are. You eat them. In Americans eat them with applesauce. For some reason, I really don't know why. But you know what really goes well? English people eat them like with mustard or with ketchup when you have them with hot dogs. But you know what really goes well with them? You get mince pie mix, like British mince pie mix, the things that go in mince pie. That on a latke, freaking brilliant. If you're not English and you're going to vomit at the very thought of mince pies, then there's another Jewish food called charoset, which you have at Passover. Is essentially applesauce with a lot of wine, very chunky apples and nuts. That on a latke, freaking awesome. The other universal custom is to eat donuts. Again, something very heavily fried in oil. Oil is a big part of this holiday. So let me explain to you what it's all about. And if you heard the story of Hanukkah before, I can guarantee you've never really heard the story of Hanukkah before. So this is basically what it is. It starts off before the story of Hanukkah. They were all the Jews basically lived in and around Israel, with Jerusalem as its capital back then. This is thousands of years ago. I felt smart. I would have looked up the timeline, but I don't know. Must be the Second Temple period. I would have thought. Is it before the Persian exile? I really don't know. Okay, fine, forget it. So it starts off the high priest, the Kohen Gadol at the time was somebody called Shimon Hasadik, which means Simon the Righteous, let's say, who was an extremely righteous person. So at the time, he was the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. There was a temple in Jerusalem, and the holiest part of the temple was called the Holy of Holies. And inside there, you had the Ark of the Covenant, the thing from Indiana Jones, Raiders Lost Ark. You had a table with different showbreads on it, and they're kind of like weird flattish breads. They're very different to how you would have thought. And you also had this candelabra called a menorah, which you would fill with oil. So during Shimon the Righteous's reign, there was an open miracle that happened, that they filled the candelabra with oil. And it burned all week on one day's worth of oil. That's a really important point, which nobody freaking mentions ever. But yeah, so that's what happened. That's what reportedly happened. So then Alexander the Great showed up. Alexander the Great was on the outskirts of Jerusalem. He was a well-known and much feared warlord, and very respected as well. So the Jews were scared when he appears out, when his armies appear outside of Jerusalem, and so Shimon the righteous goes in and greets him, and he when they get up to meet each other, then astoundingly, Alexander the Great gets off his horse and he bows to Shimon the righteous, which is like very bizarre. So and he explains that whenever he goes into battle or whenever he makes up battle plans, he always sees visions of this guy Shimon the righteous. He's never seen him before, so he's blown away. Um, and so instead of there being a war and a conquest, there is a period of what's the word I'm thinking of? Not détente, of warm, close relations between Greece and Jews. Now, before the Greeks showed up, the Jews always prided themselves, especially at that time, prided themselves on being a very intellectual people. You know, we've always had education has always been part of Jewish life, and you know, a very important part of Jewish life. Like you know, everybody knew how to read. You know, throughout the ages, for example. So, and then you know, when we interact with the other nations like the Persians, they're normally like these frighteningly brutish, oppressive people, but like and very anti-intellectual. So, but when the Jews met the Greeks, they were blown away and very impressed with the Greeks' philosophy and theology, and so the start of the period. And again, I think this went on for for hundreds of years, maybe. Oh, generate again. If I was smart, I would have looked this up before. But it came a period of intermingling between Greek and Jewish culture. So it reached a point after Alexander the Great had died. Oh, so then Shimon the righteous died, and the miracle of the candelabra staying awake for staying alight for 7 days has ended. There's a theory of a group soul. And so let's say you have somebody particularly righteous in that generation. So you have the group soul of the generation. So if you have somebody particularly righteous in that generation, you will have more miracles than without. So then when Shimon the righteous died, then the level of holiness of that generation fell to a point where that miracle could no longer occur. Okay, so the period of peaceful coexistence with the Greeks started to come to an end when they experienced something that we're experiencing right now. Right now, and I just said this in this other very, I would say, long video, well, about 15-minute long video about Doctor Who, of all things, that we live in a time where we moralize our differences, particularly our political differences. If they disagree with us, then we see them as being evil. If we have a disagreement on immigration policy, it's not like we think, it's not. We think, this person thinks this will be the best for the most people, and this person thinks this will be the best for most people, and both opinions are from good, decent people trying to do the best. No, we now say that that you think that because you're an evil, racist, fascist, and you think that because you're. We have this real hatred of other viewpoints. So that's what happened in Israel, in Jerusalem, and it eventually caused a civil war between the Jews, the traditional Jews, and the Hellenists. So the Hellenists were the progressives of the time, the social justice warriors of the time, and they wanted to erase traditional Jewish values. Yeah, much in the same way. I would say like a lot of this progressive takeover of a culture, this like push to make somebody else. Why can't there be a woman James Bond? It's because James Bond is the woman. it's fundamental to the character. But there's all this progressiveness put into our culture nowadays to try and normalize it. So that was basically the Civil War that happened, and it raged for several years, and it got to a point where the traditional Jews started to win, and we recaptured the temple in Jerusalem, which was under Greek Hellenist control. And when we captured it, we found there was one bottle of oil that was kosher enough to use in this candelabra in the Holy of Holies, and it takes a week to make more oil. So yeah, everything with Judaism is always about legal decisions. So the legal decision was it had to be lit immediately, even though we knew it would only last for a day. You can't delay doing what's called a mitzvah, a good deed. So um, so they lit this candelabra, the menorah, and it burnt just like it did in Shimon the Righteous's time for an entire week. You know what I don't know, which I think is really kind of important. I really should find out that did it continue to last for a whole week on one day's oil, because that would be interesting. But the reason that we still celebrate Hanukkah is the way Jewish philosophy looks at time. We look at time not as a line, but as a infinite recurring spiral, and the stuff of space and time that makes up one space and time recurs throughout space and time. Like this thing that make the building blocks of space and time for like a Tuesday are always the same type. They always use the Tuesday building blocks to create that, and so you have points in time that resonate throughout the time, and you can access that holiness, that energy through different observance. So we have this ritual that we light a candle on each night to commemorate the candelabra that stayed alight, and we light an extra one every night. So the first night we have one candle, then two candles, and three. You may ask, why do I have two candles down here? It's because you have one candle, and then you have another candle that you use. You're not allowed to use you're only allowed to use the one candle to publicize the miracle that happened. You use the other candle, so if you happen to accidentally read by it or something, you're not using the light of the candle to publicize the miracle. You're using the light of the other candle. It's called the shamash. So the people who led the traditional Jewish side in the Civil War were called the Maccabees, and as was indicated by the candelabra burning for 7 nights, for 8 nights on one day's oil, it was a spiritual victory in that the level of the nation had fallen that after Shimon the Righteous has died, and that they got this miracle back was an indication they had lifted the collective soul of that generation, and that in itself transcended time, because the blessing that we say on lighting these candles for Hanukkah, it goes. The text is, yeah, again, I would have pulled this out had I thought this through what I was going to do. The blessing is Shasa Nisim Lavatena, that you did miracles for our forefathers beyond Mahain in those days. Bisman has there at this time. He did it in those days, but the miracle still exists to this time, and it's a very real and potent miracle that transcends time. And the way that Jews access the power of that miracle is simply lighting these candles and looking at them and basking in the warm glow of the candle. Then it's supposed to, and it warms your soul, And then, I have a theory that this thing it created that warmth I've always said I love Christmas. I'm English, and English Christmas is fan freaking tastic, but beyond the food, beyond the great telly, beyond the drinking, beyond the socializing, there is a warmth to this time of year, and I think that warmth is universal. And I think that I think that was caused by the Maccabees creating a miracle that transcended time and space and created this warmth, this midwinter, this mid solstice light that I think that most people relate to and respond well to. So I just wanted to wish you all happy Hanukkah. Great have a good I'm not sure what the right greeting is of Kwanzaa. Merry Christmas. Whatever you do this time of year, let's all just be nice to each other. Yeah, that's basically my message to all of us. Have a great time. My name is Phila Beck and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments. I love interacting with you guys. I'm going to be doing more live streams. I did my first one last night. I really enjoyed it. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm going to be doing more of them because I really like this interaction. Share this video if you can. That really helps me out. And subscribing, that also really helps me out. Thanks so much and have a great day.